Just look at that fancy graphic. Only 25 days to go till the Iowa caucuses, but new reporting alleges that the state will not be too important in 2020. Plus, the Biden campaign appears to be a bit worried about Bernie.
So, Team Rising is here. Kenesha Grant, she's an assistant professor of political science at Howard University, author of The Great Migration and the Democratic Party, and Gabby Orr is White House reporter at Politico, two great friends of the show.
Great to see you, ladies.
Good to see you, too.
Okay, so, 25 days to go to the Iowa caucuses. There's quite a bit. This has been part of the debate, and I think we have a Politico article talking about this, about the importance of Iowa. Is it maintain that kind of status of the vault, the great, I think Roger Fisk, another panelist, has called it the greatest slingshot in the world. Gabby, do you think that Iowa maintains that cachet and that media bump that it used to be, or is it of declining importance? I'm kind of of mixed minds about it.
I think the Bill Scher article that you just posted was one of the more compelling arguments in terms of saying that Iowa is no longer this insanely important caucus. Because of the way that the Democratic Party has shaped the primary system this year, it has taken on far less importance. I mean, you have, and also because of the candidates that are in this race. I mean, South Carolina could arguably be the moment that we see a nominee emerge for the Democratic Party based on Joe Biden's performance there. Nevada could also very well shake up the nominating contest depending on how Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders perform there. And so I do think that although Iowa will certainly give momentum to whoever finishes first and second, this is more of a nationalized primary than we've seen before. And it's also something that could drag on for months and months. I mean, Bloomberg is running a campaign that goes deep into the 2020 calendar. So I do think that Iowa takes on less importance.
We're going to talk more about Bloomberg. The reporting that Gabby's referring to basically charts the number of days that these candidates have been in the state. And so only Delaney may hit 100 days. Klobuchar might hit 80. Everybody else is significantly less. I don't know if that speaks so much to Iowa being less important as it speaks to a very different media landscape where all of this is completely nationalized. So you don't have to be in the state as much for your message still to be getting to the voters there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I think that it's important to note that media has changed and that it's democratized in ways that it never has been before. And so you don't have to rely on media elites in order to get your message or to get your message across. Now you can turn to YouTube, you can turn to Twitter, you can turn to, hopefully not Facebook, but there are many different ways to get information that didn't exist in the past. And so we don't have to wait to hear what the pundits have to say about Iowa in order to make decisions about how we feel about candidates.
I think that changes
everything.
And it's also just, it's also the changing nature of the Democratic primary electorate, which is, the racial demographic of Iowa and New Hampshire makes it so that what happens there is obviously not a reflection of what happens nationally. I think Super Tuesday, Gabby, might be more important. And that's like, you said if the nominee could emerge from South Carolina. It's possible, but like Super Tuesday really could be that actual representation of where we are. And what's interesting, though, is that is much more to the more to the detriment of Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren because they have so much upper middle class white support, which is localized to Iowa and New Hampshire, but not across the rest of the map.
Right, and that's why you've seen both of these candidates spend far less time in Iowa and New Hampshire in the past 2 months or so, and far more time in states like Texas, Arizona, Nevada, South Carolina, Georgia even. California, of course. They're focused on trying to shore up whatever support that they have in those states in the event that they don't do well in the first caucuses in the First in the Nation primary. Again, though, I think, and I know we're going to talk about him later in the show, but Bloomberg is certainly an important figure to keep an eye on because he is looking ahead basically only at Super Tuesday and beyond and performing well in that. He has the money, he has the longevity, he has the campaign staff, certainly, to do well on Super Tuesday. And so that's just this kind of unknown factor that's completely at play here, but nobody really knows how it's going to change the state of this race.
Kenesha, I actually think Iowa is important for all the candidates except Biden. Because if he wins Iowa, I basically think it's done. But you've got to have someone who's going to shift the ground, who's going to come out strong in Iowa, surprise people, and I think win New Hampshire to be able to shift this race enough to ultimately win. So to me, I think Iowa is must win basically for everyone except for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I think you've got that right. Again, I think that Iowa is important in that it sends a signal. So we have this massive group of people vying to be the Democratic nominee, and I think many Democratic voters are like, oh, I like this one and that one. I like that one and this one.
Yeah.
And I think Iowa will be where we start to crystallize these ideas about, okay, we have to make this decision.
Right.
This is the person who I like and why I like him moving forward. And I think that that's going to be necessary to kind of shape what happens in Super Tuesday.
I also think, Kanisha, that part of Pete in particular going to these other states is he knows it's a problem for him with white people in Iowa too. If he has zero minority support across the country. I mean, they don't want to support someone who's like the whites only candidate.
Right. I think that's right. This Pete Buttigieg thing, I don't understand. Like,
We're right there with you. Don't
I kind of can't believe that this happened in the way it did, but okay. I think that it is necessary for him to be out and about trying to get minority support. The Democratic Party is a diverse party, and it's not going to be okay in this day and age to have it be the case that you get to the nomination without black people, because one of the things I think everybody should be worried about is exciting voters for the general election. I'm not threatening that black people will stay home, because I don't think they will do that, but I do think that it's going to be necessary to have a candidate who excites people, and he's got to figure out a way to make this thing exciting for people who are not white.
Right, and the main thing I think Iowa is a must-win, mostly for Bernie Sanders. And I saw a South Carolina Democratic primary chair came out today, and he said that he was impressed with the organization because the way he looks at it is that if Bernie could win Iowa and New Hampshire, may be able to translate some of that momentum into cutting to the vice president's support. But we're going to have to wait and see. Thank you guys for joining us.
Ladies, stick with us.
Thank
We'll have
you.
more for you right after this.